What's going on, everybody? This be your boy DJ Anonymous with Sports Biz Music, the podcast, episode 103, and I have a very special guest on the show today. I have Miss Milena Mortati. Mortati.
Yes. Hello.
Hey, how you doing?
Hi, I'm wonderful. How are you?
I'm all right, just hanging in there. Thank God it's Friday.
Yeah, I hear you.
Weekend. How's your day been so far?
I had a very productive day. Thank you.
No problem. So before we get into the questions and everything, give a little, introduce yourself to the people just a little bit about, your craft and everything.
Sure. Hello, everybody. First of all, thank you so much for having me on your wonderful show, DJ Anonymous. This is very exciting. I live in California, so hello to everybody on the East Coast. My name is Milena Mortati. I am originally from Italy, but I grew up in Switzerland. So I started in theater. That's kind of like a little bit of my background. So the first was dance, believe it or not, and then I moved into theater and decided that I was going to go to New York and study English so I can broaden my scope a bit. And then fell in love with the city, stayed, and then ended up coming out to Los Angeles to then finish a theater academy, which I did, and just stuck around, and I'm still in Los Angeles. So I do performance art, which is theater and, TV and all that good stuff. And I also do visual art. Because the performance art doesn't always happen, every single day.
Right.
In order to stay creatively active, I started painting on the side, and It just kind of like organically kind of picked up, and I was able to exhibit at Miami Art Basel, which was really fun in December. And I also started a company called Create that does pop-up galleries in America and in Europe, and I also have my own podcast where I do a little bit of a similar thing where I get to talk to artists from all walks of life and kind of like ask them a bunch about how they experienced their journey, which has been very fun.
Okay, so yes, you've been to Art Basel before. Like, how you love it? Like, did you love the vibes?
Art Basel for me was so overwhelming in so many different ways. First of all, just to be able to exhibit yourself for me was a really big deal because, they have artists from all over the world that are bringing their best, and it's just kind of like really wonderful to be co-exhibiting with these wonderful people, number one. And then number two, it's just the whole city is so saturated with this incredible art on every corner. Mm-hmm. And then every art fair you walk into is a whole experience by itself, which you would need at least 4 hours to see everything. So I was there for a whole week, and I just remember coming home and just being in such a, it was just such a high. My whole body was like buzzing. I just needed to like create more because I got so inspired. It was really fun. It was wonderful.
Yeah, I know. I love Art Basel. Art Basel is one of the main events, especially like down here. It's something that because a lot of people don't know it, that Art Basel actually came over from Miami Beach and it came to Wynwood, and it was just I felt like for the city, it was something. Because I talked about this previously on another podcast, another episode, because she's an artist too as well. And I was telling her that, down here in Florida, specifically down here in Miami, majority of the kids that's coming up, they either want to be athletes or they want to be, entertainers and stuff. But Wynwood and like Art Basel, the events opened up so many doors for like kids to like do other things, than the typical, I want to be an athlete, or I just want to, do this because my mom said it. Like, it's a beautiful thing and a beautiful event.
Yeah, it's amazing. I've been visiting Miami on and off for the last 20 years, and you're right. I mean, the change Miami and especially Wynwood has gone through due to the fact that there's such a huge now influx of artists in Florida itself is just extraordinary. I mean, it's really inspiring just walking by those mural walls, and just kind of like the whole neighborhood is just so colorful and so inspiring and just so creative and beautiful.
Yeah, it's something that's needed in the city, you know. And now, not even just in Miami, but also I know all parts of like South Florida and the rest of Florida. Like I know Fort Lauderdale, they starting to get into that more, in Palm Beach. So for me, being a person from here, like a native from South Florida, you know, it's beautiful to see all the counties, all the cities that's down here, that's you know, bringing more light to the city. Because the one thing that, you know, I'm sorry, I love talking about my city and stuff and my state. But the one thing, when tourists come down, they always talk about the beaches and stuff, but they don't realize there's so much history over here. You know, we call it the mainland, you know, so from different cultures.
Yeah.
So it's beautiful. So
yeah, and also Miami has a huge Latin influence, and just like Los Angeles, you know, Los Angeles is so saturated with the whole South America influence of colors, and it's kind of like so many wonderful artists. And Miami has a little bit of a similar vibe where you guys get, you know, a lot of Cubans and Puerto Ricans, and they bring their own culture and their own colors, and just kind of like this whole thing where I just really love how we're these border cities that kind of mix really beautifully with American culture as well.
Yeah, but yeah, for me though, the big difference with LA and Miami, LA to me is a little bit too fast for me. That's just me coming from Miami, because, you know, people tend to forget Miami is still the South, is still Southern, so, and it's still developing. So when I went to LA is beautiful. I love LA. Like I want to go back. Like it's spread out like Miami, but it's just so much stuff going on. Well, when I come back to Miami, like, you know, people got to realize that Miami is spread out too, but downtown and all that's like 30 minutes away. You know, I feel like when I went to LA had cities that had their own downtowns, you know, so. But,
yes.
Yeah, it was beautiful. So tell us about like the beginnings, like, you know, you say you was born in Italy and then you went to Switzerland and you eventually moved to LA. When you was coming from Italy and like Switzerland, did like the surroundings, like, I guess, gave you like an inspiration to do art?
Correct. So I'm Italian, and I was raised in Switzerland because, you know, they're bordering countries. So my parents met in Switzerland, and then I was raised there, which is, at the time that I was raised there, I just remember, you know, when you're 16 and you have to decide what university you want to go to or what school you want to, you know, what route you want to take for your future. I just remember going to all these counselors, and they put me on a bunch of tests, and they tried to see what my skills were and my strengths and weaknesses and so forth. And every single one of these tests was always coming out to some artistic endeavor, either, you know, an artist, an actor or a dancer or a fashion designer, something like that. Yeah. And my parents were just, you know, they were just not having it. They were like, there's no way we will support your any choices you make in its artistic field, because their fear was for me not to be able to be, you know, to support myself, which is a very valid fear. You know, I mean, I understand, but for me it was devastating because, you know, it's taking my bread away. It's taking everything that I loved away, saying, you know, you can't have it anymore. So I was sort of forced into business school in Switzerland, which I completed. And I just remember spending 3-4 years miserably. I was just so unhappy, and I just remember feeling like this is so useless. I don't belong here. So the moment I graduated, I just ran, and I got I got a wonderful job with a tourist resort in Africa. It's an Italian tourist resort that's similar to like a Club Med or something like that.
Right.
And I was able to work there, and it was just so incredible. And, you know, we were able to do theater every single night. We were able to do these, choreographed dances, and you had tourists come in every week, different ones, and you were right on the beach. And it was just like, for me, that was my dream, like to creatively express myself and to meet all these tourists from all around the world. For me, was heaven. Right. But, you know, at the time I didn't know English, and I really wanted to go to the south of Africa, and I really wanted to go to Cape Town and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
So once the season was over, I went home, and my friend was like, well, I'm going to New York to learn English. Why don't you come with me? And I did, and then, as I said, I fell in love with New York, and then, you know, just, like, how can I say this? Without any planning, I never went home. I never planned to stay in America. I told my parents I was going to be back in 3 months. Okay. And I mean, 20 years later, I'm still in America.
Wow, so they gave you a time limit like for 3 months, and you just like, nah, I'm just gonna stay here.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds crazy, you know, thinking about it. But you know, when you're in your early 20s, and you're just kind of like as free as a bird, and you want to see the world, you don't think that far. You're just kind of like taking it day by day, where you feel like you can always go home at any moment. And then, you know, one moment leads to the next, and then years go by, and here we are talking to you.
Wow, that's what's up. That's what you call a leap of faith, because, like I said, every time I sit down and have an interview with anyone, like everyone has like their own story, and you know, that's something I guess that most people is afraid of, is just take a leap of faith. Like, you know, some people don't want to quit a job, or some people don't want to not even just quit a job or something like that. They just don't want to take the maximum effort to chase their dreams and stuff like that. So it's just.
And I think it's a very, very valid fear. I mean, I understand the existential fear of not being able to survive with the little means that you have. But fundamentally, nobody has done anything ever great sitting around doing something that was in their comfort zone.
Right.
You know, that's just kind of like the rule of success.
Yeah.
Quit everything that you're used to and just throw yourself. Into the unknown.
Yeah, because you know, growing up, I wasn't really a talkative person, and I never imagined myself being on the 103rd episode of my podcast. Like,
wow,
it's crazy, like how. Like, because I tell people all the time, it's like, it wasn't because I don't like talking to people. It was just the fact that I was so used to being comfortable in my comfort zone. So one day, a few of my family members, they was telling me like, man, you know, you want to be a businessman, you want to do this, do that, but you got to talk more, you got to network more with people outside of the family, you know, outside of friends and family. So I was just like, you know what, you're right. So I thought about it.
Well, look at you now. That's incredible. Like you living off of talking to strangers, really. Like talking about turning a fear into your strength. That's incredible.
Right. So it's just amazing.
Incredible.
so
how inspiring.
Yes, it is. So you know, because my platform is about, you know, encouraging people, whether they're young, whether, you know, around our ages, about, like, you know, starting, you know, their own careers or their own dreams of achieving and stuff like that. And, you know, like I said earlier, you know, I have, you know, it's a lot of kids down here that, you know, as Art Basel started to grow, it was more, you know, kids wanted to get into arts. So, can you explain to the people, like the love of art, like the like pretty much like the love of art from your perspective?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, you know, I think in society at the moment in general, the awareness and the importance of art and new art and this new wave of these new kids with these incredible talents, old and young, really doesn't matter. We're getting a little more aware of, of the growing number of artists around the world, which is already an amazing start, number one.